Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of our entitled parents. In today's episode, entitled mom ends up in court. Apparently I can't walk my dog on public property? My parents guilt-tripped me, 27F, into buying a house with them because it is my obligation to pay them back and contribute to their retirement. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Entitled mom ends up in court. Let me preface this by saying, this happened a very long time ago, and while I could come to a reasonable approximation of the dialogue that surrounded this, I won't bother. I don't recall everything that was said, just some of the circumstances. Okay, first off, I am a model railroader. Specifically, I model in O scale. For reference, that means that the average locomotive is about 3 to 4 inches tall and up to a foot long. Depending on type, that is. One summer, I was taking part in a model railroad fair at our local mall, where I was displaying some of my models. Being that I'm from the US, the fact that I modeled the British Isles, GWR for you Brit readers, meant that my display really stood out. Now, as there's always kids at these types of shows, I had taken to putting a plexiglass side around my layout to prevent children from reaching in and touching things, or damaging various parts of the structures and models that went with the railroad. While I was watching one locomotive I had just received leave the staging area, it's a small 3-track system that lets me funnel trains into the layout and then out as needed. I remembered this one lady making comments about the cute little trains. Getting that train running at a nice but slow pace, I approached her and smiled, asking if there's any questions she had. The lady never missed a beat, pointing to the train I had just started, and told me that her son liked trains, and I should sell her one for him. Now, truth be known, this wasn't an uncommon thing to have happen. People, usually other modelers, may ask if some units are up for sale. Sometimes, they are, but typically not. I explained to her that the locomotive wasn't for sale, and that even if it was, she wouldn't have liked the price anyway, noting that the engine she was pointing to had cost me close to $1,000. The lady was having none of it, and offered me $10 for it, since it was obviously a toy. I ignored her and went back to getting the next train set up on the staging track, waiting for that one to return. As I do this, I hear an odd sound and look up just in time to see the lady picking the locomotive up off the track and moving to hand it to her kid. I called out for her to stop, which may have been a mistake, as she promptly dropped it on the ground. The engine, though somewhat robust and heavy, was made of rather soft brass. When it hit the ground, there was a sickening crunch. I knew from the sound that the engine was done for. Broken beyond repair. The lady just looked down at it, shrugged, and kicked it back under the table before starting to walk off. Thankfully, security quickly caught up with her and detained her, while police were called. All the while she kept saying it's just a toy, men don't play with toys, while ignoring the fact she was surrounded by dozens of train layouts, with just as many grown men showing off their work. Police arrested her on destruction of private property charges, while the mall itself barred her from ever setting foot on their property again. Later, with her information on hand from the police report, I filed a case against her for the replacement of the locomotive. You won't believe it, but she had the gall to try to convince the judge that it was just a toy, and the receipts I had for purchase of the locomotive weren't real. Saying that she had seen the exact same locomotive at Walmart herself. Well, the case ended up in my favor, with her having to pay me replacement costs, as well as some punitive damages. The judge ended the case with the simple warning that just because you want something, doesn't give you the right to simply take it. From the criminal side of things, I think the lady ended up with 40 or so hours of community service, and a substantial fine as well. Here's hoping she learned her lesson. Honestly, one of the most satisfying endings I have read on here. Seriously, so many of these make my blood boil, so it's very satisfying to hear one that ended up with the entitled individual being held accountable for their actions. Sadly, I'd bet she learned nothing. I'm 100% sure she thinks that she was railroaded. Poor kid. It amazes me. My kids can say I like that, and I'd consider giving them a cheap toy train from the store. This lady's kid says they like something and she tries to steal it, and the kid had to go through the process of watching police arrest their mom because she's stupid. I can say I want this as many times as I want and my mom still won't get it for me. Apparently I can't walk my dog on public property? Hey guys. This story takes place a couple of days ago. My family recently got a new dog. She's a whippet and her name is BMO, like the Adventure Time character. She's so cute. Recently my parents thought it was a good idea to let me walk her. In the first 3 months my parents were the only one who walked her, since she was so young and didn't know how to behave properly. So I started walking her and I did for a week. Everything was fine. I have walked the same path every day. She behaves in everything. Most of the time. Well, a couple of days ago I was walking her down the road. And then all of a sudden this lady shouts out her window. "Hey you can't walk your dog here." I turned to her, "Huh, what, why?" "Because recently there's a lot of dogs here, and it's annoying." "But, lady, this is a public place where people usually walks their dog." "I don't care. It's annoying, now leave before I come out and make you." She slams her window and I just stand there. I don't know what to do. I just walk back home. When I get home I tell my parents everything that happened. They told me that if it ever happens again they will go talk to her. Thanks for reading. Smiley face. Hell, I'd walk my dog there a few more times a day just to piss her off. Until she gets pissed off enough to follow through on her initial threat. She's not going to think about the consequences either, because she'll be pissed off. Nobody will win. I like to poke the bear as much as the next person, but it sometimes gets me into trouble and makes my wife nervous. I'm still working on taking my own advice, but don't poke that bear. They're not going to learn anything from it, and the trouble that it could potentially cause is never worth it in the grand scheme of things. If you are a minor, your parents can call the local police and ask for an officer to speak to the lady about not harassing you. My kid, when he was a minor, got harassed while walking on a sidewalk, and when I explained the situation the cops took it seriously and had a talk with the guy about his behavior. Minor difference was the guy was in his car at a stop sign and not at his house. But he spooked my son enough he called me on his cell phone. Organize a dog walking group on FB and have that as your meeting spot a couple times a week. See what the old nag has to say to a whole group of people. My parents guilt-tripped me, 27, into buying a house with them because it is my obligation to pay them back and contribute to their retirement. When I was young, my family and I grew up low income. My dad was the only income earner and he worked a blue-collar job, while my mom was a stay-at-home mom. In 2022 I got guilt-tripped into buying a house my parents that they couldn't afford on their own. I was pressured to sign as a co-borrower, since my parents would not get approved for the loan with my dad's low income. I was paying the entire mortgage since the mortgage is more than my dad's entire monthly salary. They keep saying they sacrificed so much for me by raising me, and now it's my obligation to pay them back by buying them a house, paying their mortgage, and contributing to their retirement. I've been feeling resentful of all my friends who can live at home rent-free, and have parents who don't treat them like an ATM or retirement plan in the future. I can't afford to move out and pay rent in addition to the mortgage, and I've been feeling hopeless and stuck. I can't afford to max out my 401k each year, and am putting less into savings because of this burden they put on me. I have goals of moving out and buying a house in the future and feel like I could never achieve that now. I feel resentful of my parents for putting me in this situation as a result of all their poor financial decisions in the past. We previously had a house a mortgage they could afford, but they wanted to move to this new house because of nicer weather and the backyard, but at a huge financial cost. It's a house I didn't even want, but my parents kept saying this new house is their dream and the old house makes them feel down and I would be responsible for their mood and poor health. They keep reminding me how much time, energy, and resources they used to raise me, and now it's my duty to pay them back for all they have done. Living at home is honestly horrible and contributes to my sense of hopelessness and worthlessness. My parents are always arguing and at each other's throats 24/7. Every day I get criticized and get called fat, ugly, lazy, that I walk ugly and eat too loudly. I feel so trapped and stuck. Edit: I didn't make this clear, but since people have asked, I only signed as a co-borrower. I am not on the title to the house. I am based in California, USA. Update: I'm currently looking into consulting with a real estate lawyer. Thank you to everyone who read this entire thing and for your support. You are paying for the house, you need to be on the title or you need to get off the loan. Right now, you are in the worst possible position, on the hook for the dollar with absolutely no ownership in the property. Why aren't you on the deed? If your parents won't work with you on this, it might be worth allowing the inevitable foreclosure just to get away from them. I was thinking, hell yeah. Leave and watch them end up in foreclosure. As great as that sounds, it may tank OP's credit score forever. I don't know anything about mortgage loans or property law, so please consult a lawyer. Next time they insult you, tell them they can handle the next payment themselves. They want you to feel small because you actually hold all the power here. Without your money, it sounds like they'll be up the creek without a paddle. If they want to keep biting the hand that feeds them, they'd better hope they win the lottery. Tell me you're Asian or Indian without telling me. Y'all need to get over that parent trap BS. Are you absolutely sure it's co-borrower and not co-signer? The information I'm seeing online says that it's co-signers who aren't on the title but co-borrowers are legally considered owners. Also, from what I'm seeing online, I would seriously suggest meeting with a property lawyer about this. This involves legal contracts and is gonna need a professional to evaluate, not Reddit. Your parents are the one who made the choice to bring you into this world. You did not ask to be born. They owe you. I would make them take over, or I would just stop paying. You don't owe them for raising you. That's their minimum responsibility. Talk to the bank about getting off the loan or talk to a lawyer about getting on the deed. Have a down payment saved up for your own apartment, should have good credit, sign lease, then stop paying the mortgage. Tell parents it's their responsibility. Move out immediately. Block. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.